Hi, everyone, and welcome to the premiere of Let's Talk, a Wellington, Ohio community program with a focus on what's happening in and around our town. I'm Dottie Cianciola. Bill Berger will be conducting many of the interviews for Let's Talk. Over the past few years, Bill has been the host of Dialogue with the Dukes. Dialogue with Dukes is a Wellington Schools digital media program. His segment for Let's Talk is called The Summer of 2020 and will follow and kicks off with an interview with our Village of Wellington Mayor Schneider. On his next segment, Bill will be interviewing Jenny Arns. Jenny is the Executive Director of Main Street Wellington. Recently, Main Street announced that all their large events for 2020 are canceled in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. They're urging everyone to do their part to remain safe and positive during this uncertain time. And they're very busy coming up with some alternative, smaller scale and virtual community activities. Also, the Friends of the Herrick Memorial Library recently announced that in response to the pandemic, that they will be canceling the 2020 Harvest of the Arts here in Wellington, a very, very popular downtown event, and this would have been their 38th year. Okay, next I'd like to give an update on our Wellington schools. The Wellington School Board met last Tuesday, July 14th, to discuss plans for the upcoming school year. Our school superintendent, Edward Weber, presented a draft proposal for a hybrid school option that reduces the number of students in the building at any given time through a split in-class virtual formula. This is a popular plan for many of the school districts here in Ohio. A full online option is also being proposed to the board, and for consistency with that option, they are asking for a full semester commitment. Face masks are expected to be worn during class times. Built-in face mask breaks. Very crucial component to this. We understand how difficult it is to wear a face mask for a long period of time, and they will be worked in during times of optimal social distancing, and also they're hoping to conduct some of their activities outdoors, of course, weather permitting here in Ohio. So that's what they have on board for that. It's suggested that parents of young school children begin working with them now to get them used to wearing the face masks. A request for additional nursing staff has been submitted to the Lorain County Department of Health. The health department is working closely with the schools. The school is looking into recommendations for quality samplings to be conducted throughout the school buildings to determine if the classrooms are getting proper ventilation and what steps may be necessary if this is not the case. Teachers are currently being Google trained and certified to help students and parents effectively navigate the online learning. This week's board meeting is Tuesday, July 21st. At the meeting, the school board is expected to vote on the school program as well as a September 14th start date. You can go to the Wellington Schools website. I'm going to link it here for further information on the schools. In mid-August and early September, Bill Berger will be interviewing the principals of our Wellington schools to see how they're preparing for the beginning of the school year. Also, we're requesting an interview with our superintendent, Mr. Weber, just prior to the open to give an update on how that's coming together. So like and subscribe to our new YouTube channel and follow the Patricia Lindley Center Facebook site for the updates on what is happening with this show. So now on to a lighter note. Upcoming in entertainment, we have on the schedule Ryan Friend. His band is called Ras, and Ras has been a part of the Wellington music scene for quite some time. Ryan is currently recording a CD and did a sit-down interview with Benny Guglielmato and Adam Cianciola, two fellow musicians and Wellington High School grads. They talked to Ryan about his recording experience and what's happening on the local band scene. That'll be coming up over the next couple weeks. Also, Steve Neff, the owner of Wellington Music, will be interviewing with us, sharing how his business in downtown Wellington is going through this pandemic time. Up next is the interview with Bill Berger and our Wellington Mayor Schneider. This interview was recorded this past Wednesday, and things being what they are right now, updates constantly happening. Following the Wednesday interview with Bill, on that Friday, the mayor put out an open letter to the Lorain County Fair Board asking them to cancel the fair in response to community concerns over the COVID pandemic. With the fair comes a lot of people from all over. Our town has been quite fortunate. We have not had that many reported COVID cases. Actually, the mayor talks about that in this interview. But right now, Ohio is seeing a spike. And for the safety of our community, the mayor has requested the cancellation. How that plays out yet is to be determined. Next up is the Summer of 2020 segment with Bill Berger and Mayor Schneider.
From the beer garden on the back deck of the Berger residence, welcome to the Summer of 2020, a film crew production. I'm your host, Bill Berger. A coronavirus pandemic is continuing unabated throughout the United States. The killing of George Floyd and other black citizens has resulted in worldwide demonstrations, most peaceful, but some are violent. 4.9 million people have become unemployed due to the coronavirus. The summer of 2020 starts now. We are very fortunate in having our guest this evening. He can talk to both the political side of it, because he is the mayor of the village of Wellington, and also he can talk to the medical side of it, because he is a nurse, and you're going to have to help me, Hans. What kind of nurse again, and what hospital?
Dialysis.
Yes, a dialysis. Yeah, a nurse, a dialysis nurse. Anyway, you have already gotten an idea of who we're going to be talking to. We'd like to welcome Mayor Hans Schneider. Welcome, Mayor.
Thanks, Bill. Glad to be with you. Didn't get the personal invite to the beer garden, but that's all right.
Well, we're doing this for social distancing or lack thereof. You have the air conditioning inside your house. We just have the breeze out here. Anyway, the first question for you, Mayor. We'd like to know how many cases of coronavirus have hit the village of Wellington, how many have been hospitalized, and how many dead have we had so far?
I believe there's been a couple hospitalizations, but most of the cases here in the village have been mild. People have been able to rest at home and work their way back to health that way. So we've been fortunate. Has there probably been other undiagnosed cases here in the village? I would say probably. I wouldn't want to put a number on it, but there probably has been. I mean, if you look at the infection rates nationally, like last week, I think they were running between 7.5% and 9% at the high, maybe 9.1%. So, I mean, if you were to figure that in here in the village, well, then you're probably talking roughly about 350 people here in the village at some point would get it, in this initial wave. So I don't think we've had that many cases, but we probably have had some undocumented cases here in the village.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, Governor DeWine has declared Lorain County in level 3 or red, which means that we have a public emergency. We have extreme exposure and spread. They are requiring that masks must be worn by all people. As the mayor, is the village complying? And who's the one that's actually enforcing this mask wearing?
So I don't think anybody actually is enforcing it, because it's a mandate, not necessarily a law. It's an administrative code. But the village is definitely partaking in that. We have asked the police department if they're out and they see somebody without a mask, just to politely remind them, hey, we're under a mask mandate right now. If you have one, please put it on. We need to be leaders by example. So everybody in the village, all village employees, at least when they're on, definitely when they're on village time, should be wearing a mask. I definitely take my mask out. This is one of many that I have, and I take that out, and I'm wearing a mask anytime I'm out in public.
Mayor, one of the things that seems to be a sore spot possibly throughout the United States is, and certainly here in Wellington, is the Lorain County Fair is still on, as far as we know, and as others have canceled, especially the Ohio State Fair, I believe, has canceled. As mayor and a medical professional, how do you feel about thousands of people descending on Wellington, Ohio, and the Lorain County Fairgrounds from all over Northeast Ohio and rubbing elbows and possibly spreading the virus?
Well, I don't feel very good about it. I did express to Kim Myers when they took the initial vote last month to have the fair, that the village's perspective would be that, that they would pass on it this year. If I had a vote and was in that room, I would have voted no. I'm not going to bash them for it. I mean, they are going to make their decisions. As the village, we want to offer whatever support we can to ensure that if they do have the fair, if that doesn't change over the next 2 or 3 weeks, that it's safe. And again, I think stressing, social distancing and masks are key. I do have a big worry about people coming down to Wellington and mixing in with our residents here, and possibly, this being, a super spreader event where you get thousands of people in one area, and all of a sudden you start getting hundreds of cases. So I do have that concern. Again, maybe they'll reconsider depending on what numbers do over the next 2 or 3 weeks. I would hope that they would. I just wouldn't want to have that, on my conscience, if something terrible were to happen at the fair. I understand people do love it. The kids have worked hard on the junior fair and everything, sure. The animals and all that brings. I think they could probably find a way to do some of that stuff, still do the auctions, that kind of stuff. But I think bringing, tens of thousands of people into the village of Wellington while there's an active pandemic going on is just a bad idea.
Yeah. Do you think that there's any chance at all that they might, something will come up, or somebody gets smart and they decide to cancel it? Is there any chance, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think if, in talking with the health commissioner last week, if these numbers continue to go in the wrong direction, and it seems like they will, I think the fair board should strongly reconsider, what they're going to do here in August. Mm-hmm. And I think the health commissioner would enlighten them with some of those numbers and projections as they get closer. One of the things I did ask Dave was, if you're asked by the Lorain County Fair, are you going to give them, the opinion that they need to hear, not necessarily what they want to hear? And he guaranteed that he would. He's concerned about health and safety as well.
We have signs throughout the village, and the signs say, "Heroes work here." As a medical person specifically, I'd like you to put in a plug for these people that are spending time and working with all of these people.
There is hundreds, if not millions, of people across the United States and the world, working with active COVID situations. Our ambulance, when they get called out, they put on their PPE. The ambulance district, they do a great job. They show up. Without regard for themselves, they do put on their PPE, but they go into those situations just like you'll see a police officer, the people in nursing homes, the firemen here in the village, responding to emergencies. They're all doing, outstanding work. We have the best, in my opinion, safety services anywhere in the state of Ohio, largely because they all work together for the greater good of the community and the outlying communities. But again, you have nursing home people working, you have, doctors' offices. My sister has been volunteering to work directly with COVID patients. She spent several weeks in Perrysburg, and then she just got back from Indianapolis. So she's been traveling outside, inside the state and outside the state to work directly with COVID patients to make sure that they get the care that they need. And
they are certainly the real heroes in this particular pandemic. We are talking with Mayor Schneider, the mayor of the village of Wellington, and we've talked pretty much about what's been going on in Wellington. Now what I'd like to do, Mayor, is I'd like to talk about mask wear specifically, and about reopening reopening all across the country, not only in Ohio, but also throughout the United States. So I guess that easy question for you, and you can say yes or no, but what do you think went wrong, if anything went wrong, with reopening the country? And if you think that the opening was a political and economic situation, or was it a medical situation, or maybe a combination of all three?
In some places, we probably opened too soon. I compared it to the last day of school at the time. You know, that last day of school comes up and everybody just runs out. I mean, they're running out of school just to start summer vacation. And I think when everybody came out of lockdown, everybody just ran out and largely, a lot of people started to resume life as it was before, when really it's not as it was before. And I think when you touch on, you know, economics and politics and health-wise, you know, initially the lockdown did what it was supposed to do. It was out there to, you know, flatten that curve, not overwhelm the hospitals. You know, some areas of the country certainly did get overwhelmed. Here in Ohio, we did good. We didn't have that, but now we're seeing more cases. Unfortunately, I think it's become a political issue. I think, you know, and really it's strictly, to me, a health issue. You know, health and public safety. A lot of small businesses, and even here in Wellington, suffered during the lockdown. And, you know, they're reopened, but are they at the levels that they were before? Certainly not, largely because we're not going to get back to any type of economic growth or anything like that until people feel safe.
I believe that the state of Ohio is one of 41 states that has seen an increase in cases, not a decrease in cases. I think last Friday, Ohio actually set a record with, I believe, 1,525 cases. And then on Sunday, we had another 1,300 plus cases. From a medical point of view, Mayor, what's that do for the state of Ohio, or what can either Governor DeWine do, or what can we do to stop this increase in cases that we seem to be having?
Again, I think you get back to wearing the mask. You know, we had a conference call with the health commissioner last Friday, and you know, Dave put it in very simple words. A mask helps. A mask is a barrier. If you and I, Bill, were in the same room and we both had a mask on and we were 6 feet apart, that's 3 barriers. If you take your mask off, now we're down to 2 barriers. If I take my mask off, now we're down to the 6 foot. And if we move in closer, now we're down to 0. I mean, we're talking barriers. Again, is it 100% effective? No, but it's effective enough to make a difference. A lot of people are like, oh man, we'll just get herd immunity to this. I don't think people realize the amount of numbers we're talking about. Right now we're at 1,500 a day, let's say 1,200 a day on average the past week, somewhere in there. At 10,000 a day, you need to get about 80% of your population to have it. In Ohio, there's a little over 11 million people. At 10,000 infections a day, and we're 80, you know, that would take nearly 2.5 years to get to 80%. I mean, people just, these are actual numbers. To get to 80%, you need to go about 10,000 a day over a period of about 2.5 years. You're going to get what, 3.65 million the first year, 7.2 after 2, so somewhere maybe 2.25 years, somewhere in there. You know, just to develop herd immunity. So when people give me that argument, oh, I'm not wearing a mask because I believe in herd immunity. Do the numbers. The herd immunity at the rates we're at right now don't work.
Do you think that masks should be mandated at all times for all people? And the reason why I asked the question is last night I saw the CDC came out and said if everyone wore a mask, that we could flatten the curve significantly and knock out this virus and I don't know what he's using this as an example, but he said we could knock it out or at least flatten the curve significantly in 4 to 8 weeks.
Wear the mask. You can wear a cloth one. You don't have to wear the N95. Again, I think some people are just being stubborn about doing it. And they have a right to their viewpoint. You know, they think it infringes on their rights. And if you want to talk constitutional law, maybe it does a little bit, sure. But I think there's a moral thing to do here, and that's to to act in the best interests of the community as a whole and just wear the mask.
I would once again like to thank Mayor Schneider for appearing on today's show and for giving us a perspective both from a political point of view and a medical point of view. I'd also like to thank Miss Dottie Cianciola, my field reporter for today's show, and also my technical advisor, Mr. Dave Conklin, for helping us with today's show and providing the link in the Zoom for doing this particular interview. This has been the Summer of 2020, a film crew production.